Trish, are we starting right now?
Natasha, are we starting right now?
Okay, 5, 4, 3, 2.
And action.
Hey everyone, before we start, I just wanted to let everyone know that there's this super cool app that I've actually used and been a research participant in called the I Can Cope app. So actually a research team at Sick Kids created this new iPhone app for youth that are 12 to 18 years old with JIA. And this app pretty much helps you to manage your pain, set goals, and learn new strategies on how to cope with pain. So we are actually going to put a link down below in the description for you to actually check out what this app is all about and the research behind it, as well as the impact from me. So Trish, how do we actually get started if someone wants to download this app? What is the process?
Yeah, so it's actually really easy. There's only about 5 steps into this. It's not difficult at all, and all you have to do is follow the following steps. So number 1, download the I Can Cope with Pain app from the Apple App Store. It's not available for Android just yet. We'll put up what it looks like right here, and there will be a link in the description that will take you right to the page. So after you download it and you've done all of those things, you have to open the app and you have to click sign up at the bottom. You select the access code and you enter the code Cassie and Friends. Don't forget, the code will be available in our description so that you can access it and you don't have to memorize these things. You answer a few easy questions to see if you're eligible for the study. We'll put up a little video right here of how we did it and how to access it. After you've done all those questions, you learn about the study, take your time learning about it, and make sure you really decide if you want to take part. Remember to check your junk folder for emails from the study and make sure that you've found those emails and they're not in your spam or your junk where they shouldn't be. And yeah, those are the 5 easy steps. And it's a really great app. And I know Natasha works on it. And I wish I could have, but I was a little too old. But yeah, check it out. Let us know what you think down in the comments.
And if you have any questions, remember to contact the I Can Cope team and we'll put their email right here. And now we will be showing you a little snapshot. Let's get right into episode 8.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for tuning in this week to Take a Pain Check. This episode, we have the one and only Fox twins. Carly's currently in Ottawa, I believe, and Michaela is in London, but they're both from London. So Michaela and Carly are both diagnosed with enthesitis-related JIA, and we have them on today to talk about their lives as twins with autoimmune diseases, their Make-A-Wish, and how they moved out. Okay, so can you guys both start by introducing yourselves and talking a little bit about what you guys do have?
Okay, so hi, I'm Carly. I'm 19 years old and I'm currently at Ottawa, University of Ottawa, studying international development and globalization with a minor in conflict studies and human rights.
Hi, I'm Michaela. I'm 19 and I'm studying at Fanshawe College in London for music industry arts.
That's cool.
I like it.
I'm glad you do. So this is a weird question, but do you know your time difference or
Yes, we know exactly. I was born at 1:13 in the afternoon. She was born at 1:15.
Okay, that's
so
cool.
you're
2
older.
minutes right there. I am older.
Okay, she is like 2 minutes older, but I'm like 2 inches taller, so I think it's like a good trait.
It evens out.
Yeah.
So
I can't like live it down that I'm shorter than her. It always comes out.
So I've known you guys for quite some time through camp and all of those other things, but I know that Carly was diagnosed after and Michaela was actually diagnosed first. So how did that kind of play out if you want to take a go at it, Michaela?
Yeah, so when I was 15, I was having all these growing pains and I went to the doctor so many times and it wasn't growing pains obviously. And then eventually I got to a rheumatologist and she said, we did testing and she said, okay, it's juvenile idiopathic arthritis. And then as it went on, like as the months went on, we realized it was like the enthesines too, like the ligaments that attach to the joints were also getting inflammation. So it wasn't just like normal arthritis. There was something funky going on. A lot of the back and spine got involved too. So that's pretty much how it led to the enthesitis related arthritis diagnosis.
So what is enthesitis arthritis?
So there's things called entheses, which are like your ligaments. My favorite entheses are like ligaments in your, like think of in your like collarbone in your chest that connect to the spine right there. So you get inflammation in those connection points.
Yes, Carly. Any thoughts?
I just like literally like spell check doesn't understand what entheses mean. There's so little research available on it. So, every day you just take it as it comes and do your best guess at what's going on in your body.
I don't really know what an entheses is. They're just like, your entheses are swollen. And I'm like, yeah, sure.
So what entheses are affected for both of you? Or like, I guess like, where is the most like painful part or inflammation?
Now, for me personally, I've had a lot of issues with like the plantar fascia, which is the bottom of your foot, to the point where like I'll just be walking and it feels like it snaps. So you just like stop everything you're doing. It's kind of funny after a while, but you never know what it's going to come on next. And also for me personally, it's been crazy in my shoulders to the point where like during the pandemic, I dislocated my own shoulder by myself. No like external fact. I was just like, in, it's out. So yeah, always exciting.
I do recall that adventure.
Sorry. So when were you diagnosed, Carly?
I was diagnosed about a year and a half after Michaela. And basically the reason for that gap is that I just convinced myself I was crazy for that amount of time. I was like, no, I'm just like a really empathetic twin. And then eventually I just like bit the bullet. I realized I was in denial and I'm like, I'll see the doctor now. Let's start the treatment. And no shock, I got arthritis.
How did you feel when it happened, Michaela? Like when
with Carly being diagnosed, like I think I knew for a very long time she had arthritis, and I was the one who's like, go to the doctor, like please just go to the doctor, like you're my twin, like biologically, just do it, just go to the doctor. It took so long to convince her, it was ridiculous, but she got diagnosed, and congrats, welcome to the arthritis team, Carly.
I literally remember just like laying on the table during my first physical exam. She's going inflammation. And I just had like this feeling of just like, yeah, I guess.
It does hurt.
You obviously both have arthritis. Do you think it's genetic in a way, like someone else in your family? Like what caused this? What do you think?
I would personally argue that me and Michaela are like a medical research gold mine, because we know other sets of twins from arthritis camp where only one of them has it. But my best guess, we don't have like a family history. So like maybe the same like gene and then the same environmental factor that switched it on. But would love to have some scientists hit me up.
I like to think this is a gene mutation so I can like feel cool and feel like an X-Men or something. But I do think it's genetic, just that me and Carly both got it and it presents in like such a similar way, but slightly different, which like aligns with the fact that we're fraternal twins. I don't know, like I do feel like it's very genetic.
What are those differences? Like how does it show up in each of you?
So for me, it shows up mostly in like my SI joints, which are those little guys at the bottom of your spine, between your spine and your hips. So there, and then through my entire spine, it's actually it's gone into my neck lately, up in the top. It is hurting bad, but mine's mostly like just the back and the side joints, and then Carly has a lot more with the shoulders and the ankles and the things. You can explain that.
We don't usually talk about how it differs between us. We just complain a lot, but like it mostly affects my bottom half. Like we're talking like hips, knees, ankles, feet. So I guess like together we have like one non-arthritic body between us.
I'm not sure about that.
No, even then.
Like put you guys together, half one body, another body creates arthritis.
Bertha Shaw.
Unfunctioning human.
How do you guys kind of, I mean, both of you are separate right now, but say when you were at those young ages, when did you guys, like, how did you cope with your pain together per se, if that was a thing?
One thing that was like the sickest was after we were both diagnosed, when one of us was flaring up, the other one would like go to school and be like, hey, Michaela's not doing great. Can I have her homework? Can I like catch her up? And it worked really well. And then when we were like both flaring up together, there was kind of like a solidarity to it. And it helped with like that whole flare up isolation thing.
For me, having a sister with arthritis, like, it's cool because you have someone to complain to, because, you're in pain all the time and you just want to complain because, it sucks. So it's nice to have someone who actually understands what's going on and like actually understands the pain rather than someone just being like, oh, I'm so sorry. She actually gets it. Thank you, Carly.
Thank you.
In terms of that, like when you guys were younger, like did you do everything together or did the arthritis bring you together?
I would personally say that like when we were growing up, there wasn't a lot of space to grow apart, especially in like really young years. We did a lot of music together, a lot of sports. We just assumed a lot of the pain was growing pains and injuries because of that. But we've always had like really distinct identities, and we started growing apart around high school.
The funny thing is, I feel like we got closer in high school. Like once we got arthritis, like, we started to like get a lot closer because sometimes we didn't get along growing up. It's hard to grow up with a twin.
Cool.
Yeah.
I think siblings, whole different issue. I mean, maybe not an issue. Like you mentioned, like you don't have any like close family history of arthritis. Were you always in like the same friend group when you tried to talk about it? And like, how did you sort of tell your friends about your diagnosis?
Michaela, if you want to go first, since you like went through it first and whatnot.
I never really hid my diagnosis. I just told anyone when it was relevant. If I'm walking, I just tell my friend like, ow, my hip really hurts. Like, why is your hip hurt? Like, I have arthritis, just like that. So that's kind of how I told everyone. We had some of the same friends, and then we had our own like individual friend groups too, which is nice as a twin because, you have your friends, you get to hang out with your sister, but you also have, friends where you don't have to hang out with your sister all the time. No offense.
I also think I personally dodged a bullet because Michaela was diagnosed a year before me, because I would kind of like explain to people, yeah, Michaela's not here. She has arthritis. She's having a bad day. So I knew how people would react. And it was also a conversation not centered around me. So when it came time to tell people about my diagnosis, I wasn't as kind of put off about it, but I did wait like a whole year after my diagnosis. I didn't really tell anyone until after arthritis camp.
Yeah, I remember Michaela said it took a little poking and prodding to get you to come.
I'm noticing a pattern.
But yeah, I can't believe she didn't want to go to Camp Cambria at first. Like, it's a free camp and you just get to run around and have like the best time of your life with all your arthritic pals, and you're like, I'm not sure.
Oh my god, Rep Camp Cambria.
Oh, Natasha, don't worry, you get to go next year.
Yay! Oh my god, are you gonna go?
She's
You better.
too old, but she'll volunteer.
Yes, you will.
I love how you signed me up already. We kind of talked about your friends. Any like strategies or anything, and like how you told them? Carly, I know it's easier for you, but like I know Michaela like doesn't care. Like, oh well, I have arthritis. Like, were there any like strategies, like just like, oh, did you have to like explain to them like what it is? Like, how did that work?
I will say, being open on social media about the arthritis makes it easier because there's kind of like a disconnect there. And so a lot of people, like I'm meeting all these people from school online, they're going to know about my arthritis before they really even meet me. So that's been really cool. But also when I got diagnosed, I was in performing arts, which is not the healthiest environment to be in, especially when you have like mobility concerns. So at some point, like I just told my director, and then like it caught on like wildfire. So everyone knew. I didn't have to tell them. So
Wow.
it worked out.
You're lucky-ish. What about you, Michaela?
I think the thing with me is just figuring out like how much to tell people. Like, do they want to know it's arthritis? Do they want to know how it affects me, how I'm feeling today? I'd tell all my teachers early on in the semester, I'd be like, listen, I might not be here sometimes. I have arthritis. I'm home when I'm in pain. It's very simple for me. I'm just like, here's what's going on. Here's how I deal with it. Done.
I mean, I think that's a good way to look at it and to deal with it, especially just to be very straightforward. When you guys were in high school, do you think, because I know that's like teenage years, and Natasha and I've talked about this before, like it affected both of us very differently being in high school, but do you think being diagnosed, if you were diagnosed at 15, Michaela, and you were like, I guess 16 and a half kind of thing, so was it harder because you were in high school, and would you guys have preferred to be diagnosed earlier?
I actually think about this question a lot because I feel very grateful to have seen the world as like able-bodied and disabled, because I think it gives me a really like unique perspective. But at the same time, while it might have been easier getting diagnosed really young, I'm really grateful to have had that childhood with like kind of degree of normalcy, because that's not a privilege a lot of kids with JIA have. But definitely, what a curveball to get it halfway through high school. It really changes things on you.
I think I got diagnosed, I think just around the second semester of my first year of high school. And it just feels like there's this median from like pre-diagnosis to after diagnosis, because after I got diagnosed, things went downhill like so fast and I just stopped going to school. So there's like this major before and after for me.
What were those things that went downhill?
The pain, it's like more and more joints got affected and more medications weren't working, and it's just more pain. It's just steamrolling.
Yeah. You know, like my mom and I were talking today, and we were talking about, like, I used to be a runner like in elementary school, like way back when. And I recently started running again. So she was just saying like, oh yeah, like you used to do cross country. And she was like, you know, I think it was before that the arthritis hit. And I'm like, you know, it's like sometimes we don't even notice the difference between pre-arthritis and after arthritis, and to take that moment and just understand that there was a very big difference between those two. Because I didn't start playing sports again, I think, till grade 9, and I was diagnosed in grade 6. So those 2 years, I didn't play any sports. And a lot of that, I think, factored in from the arthritis. And I didn't really look at it like that ever. And now that I think of it, I'm like, that makes sense. Like, it makes a lot of sense that I didn't play sports at that time. Were there any activities that you guys had to let go of because of the arthritis?
I will start. I loved sports. Like in grade 8, I was on the basketball team, volleyball team. We were doing track and field. We were doing the relay and the softball throw. And I did cross country. I loved sports. I loved running. And then literally just a year later, I couldn't do any of it anymore. So it was very bizarre. It was a very weird life transition.
Yeah, I was always personally like less sporty, more musical, so I kind of like dodged a bullet there. But at the same time, it was just very weird to go into such like still like sports. It's so mobility focused. So just to kind of, it was weird.
And then Michaela, did you go from sports to music, or you always had like that music, like loving music side, or how did that work? Because I know that you do music right now.
Yeah, so I've always been into music. Like when I was doing sports, I was also doing all this like crazy stuff for the school with like concert band, jazz band, all the choirs. Like I was just really into it, like really into sports and music. As the arthritis has progressed, it's been tough on the music side because the instrument I play is a bari sax, and it weighs like 17 pounds and it hangs off your neck. So it is just terrible for your back, and like my fingers are so stiff, and I'm supposed to be a guitar player. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I think even like when I was diagnosed in grade 8, I was playing trumpet that year, like before that, like I couldn't. I was like, no, sorry, something else. And they were like, okay, what about percussion? And I was like, no, I can't go like this. And they're like, okay, what about like this? And I was like, stop. So at that point, I sort of did nothing during music class. I was just sitting there. I was an observer.
played
But
the
yeah,
flute.
that's great. Oh, I played the flute, but I was like jinxed on the flute. I had strep throat. Choir, jazz band. Do you still do jazz band and stuff? I don't even know. Does university do that?
No, college doesn't do that. And I'm so sad. Like I didn't really value my time as like concert band, jazz band. And now it's gone. I'm like, all right, cool. I'll just sit in my room and play saxophone by myself.
I'm in like concert choir. I mean, it's so much better when you sing because it's like you don't have to use your hands. You obviously use your throat. But I don't know. I feel like it's good that you like kind of realize that you like missed. I guess you like missed out, but now you're like kind of getting to it and you do what you love. You sit in your room and play some saxophone. Who doesn't like that? So
Right. I'm just trying my best with what I have right now.
that's
How was
next.
the separation on both of you? Carly being in Ottawa and Michaela being in London.
It's been interesting, like living together for 18 years and then she's gone. And it's been kind of cool because she's like way off in Ottawa, and I think Ottawa's a cool place. I think most of you does anyone else live there?
Not lived, but I've
Just
been
kidding.
multiple times.
But like it's a cool city, and I got to hear about like, you know, her own experiences and like what it's like there. And it's nice to hear about her experience, and it's not interlaced with mine for once. Like it's her own story. Like I'm not involved at all, and it's so cool that like she has her own life now. Not that she didn't before. They were just very intertwined.
I will say I have a horrible grip on reality, so I can't really vouch for how I feel about this. But it's kind of like nicer when we get together now because it's like it's more meaningful. I don't know if like hanging out in the kitchen's meaningful, but like it's more meaningful. I'll give you that.
I don't get to see you as much. You have more stories to tell us when you come in person. You get to see the dog. Very important.
Very jealous. She still lives in the same city as the dog, who is the key factor of the family.
Very important.
How did your arthritis, like, how has that affected you when you moved out? Like, I don't know what medications you're on and stuff like that. Like, I don't know what's going on, but maybe you can give us some insight about medications first and what you guys are on, and then how that really affected like the way you live life at university or college.
I think personally I'm really lucky because I moved out during the pandemic, and at the time, because I wasn't like seeing doctors as much because of all that COVID stuff, they took me off medication for a bit. It's not going well, but a lot of those bad side effects were gone. I didn't have to bring my needle drop box on the move and answer all those questions. So definitely not dealing with like all the medical side effects made it a lot easier to move out, but it's catching up on me as it does.
Yeah, like when I moved out, like it didn't really affect too much. I think the best thing is I live in like this weird illegal bedroom, and it's just like a living room in a basement of a house that I live in, and I have my own shower and stuff. But it's really nice to have my own space because I have enough room to do like yoga and exercises for my arthritis. Medication wise, just like Carly, they took me off medication, just chilling here. No anti-inflammatories, just a little bit of fibromyalgia medication that's not working. So the hardest thing is just getting those prescriptions because my pharmacy is downtown. So you can get them delivered, or I get my mom to pick them up because I'm the lucky child.
Are you guys still at your pediatric rheumatologist?
Mm-mm.
I am personally so lucky. I saw one of our friends' rheumatologists from arthritis camp. She's a transition like rheumatologist, which is the best thing I can possibly have. She's in Ottawa. She's everything I've ever wanted in a rheumatologist, but it's a super long wait time because of COVID. So I've had to like, with every new doctor, it's like a whole new process and like almost a re-diagnosis, which is just a waste of time and sometimes very like invalidating of your experiences. But she's so cool, so it'll get better.
As you mentioned, you are with a rheumatologist in Ottawa. So have you initially, when you guys were diagnosed, were you at the same rheumatologist? Yeah. So how does it feel kind of not going to did you guys go to appointments together?
It was, I don't know what we did, but we called them joint appointments because arthritis. And basically she's very talented. She'd be like on a little wheelie chair and like going back and forth between us, just like zipping across the room.
Little comparison.
Right. I left those things so confused about what was going on. but she saw both of us at the same time. So
Yeah, like we didn't have separate appointments at our pediatric rheumatologist. We'd like both be sitting there and take turns up on the exam table. It was funny. Like, I don't know, like just me and Carly together, we're kind of goofy. We kind of goof around. So it was interesting, but it is nice. When we turned 18, we both went to see the same adult rheumatologist, except, you know, we had separate appointments, which was nice.
Did it feel different having separate appointments?
Like, we have very different concerns about our arthritis, I think. So seeing one doctor, they don't see you as like an individual. Like, the twins go together, but we're individuals. We have different not types of arthritis, but it presents differently. So it's really nice to have one rheumatologist seeing you as one person, not as you and your twin.
Yeah.
I will say the only like drawback to that is that I did not have the best experience with my first adult rheumatologist, and it felt like very invalidating. So like not having Mikhail in the room to like back me up and kind of like egg me on, it's something I had to get used to, but bounce back with the new rheumatologist. So
I feel that transitioning is so difficult when you turn 18. There's no resources, there's nothing to really support you, and to find rheumatologists, it's so difficult. So I'm glad you guys learned how to self-advocate, kind of. That's a very big step. I think like I still have trouble self-advocating, especially at the doctor's, because I feel like she's always right. And I had to fight her. So last week, before I went to get my COVID vaccine, Natasha had gone and she said, oh, like you need your pills and like you need a letter. And I was like, okay, that makes sense. Like, so you got to prove that you have a disease that can't be seen. I was like, okay, that makes sense. So I called them, and they're mainly like they serve the Asian community mainly. So I called them and I was like, hello, like I need a note from my doctor. And they were like, I don't know if we can do that for you, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, okay, but I'm getting a vaccine, and if they stop me, I need a note. And then she didn't call me back. She didn't reply to me. So I emailed them and I'm like, I'm literally coming down to the clinic if you don't give me a note. And within, I think, half an hour, I got the note. And I was just sitting there. I'm like, I shouldn't have to fight with you for a note to say that I have arthritis.
Yeah.
Sometimes you really have to like strong arm it with them. Like, I think I'm a really good self-advocate, but there's sometimes like when you're sitting in there and it's hard to like advocate for yourself when you're just being so invalidated and they're not listening to you. You're like, please just listen to me. Like, I know what I'm feeling. I know what I'm experiencing.
Yeah. And a lot of it comes back to the stigma of our disease not being seen. And I think doctors don't realize that either. Like, they can't see the disease either, so they don't actually know how we're feeling, and they really have to sometimes learn to take our word for it. And then I think our age comes into play, that we're so young that they think that we actually don't know how we're feeling and whatever. But I've dealt with this disease for 9 years. You've dealt with it for about 4. Everybody has. We've been here for quite a while that everybody knows what their body reacts like now. And I think doctors really do need to learn how to respect that. I feel like that's something we're still missing from adult rheumatologists.
Yeah, I can't say that because my pediatrician is very nice. So like she gave my notes so quickly and I felt so bad for Trish. But yeah, so I think obviously self-advocating is very important. It also took me a while to figure that out. How did you guys start advocating for others, since you started advocating for yourself? But what have you sort of done to advocate for others?
I will start here because I had this whole little adventure with the Arthritis Society that was like so cool. It started with when I came back from camp. This is the first year I went. So Carly wasn't there. She hadn't been diagnosed yet. And my dad forgot to pick me up. So I'm just sitting there with like Laura from the Arthritis Society. We're just hanging out for like 2 hours because no one can get a hold of my dad. And we're just talking. I'm like telling her about my arthritis. And she emails me later. She's like, do you want to be an ambassador for the Arthritis Society? So I say yes. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what the role is. And I end up giving a speech at the Walk for Arthritis and doing all these little like campaign promo photo shoots. I was on a bus. It was cool. And then I went on and I did a speech at a poker gala to raise money for arthritis, but it's been cool because I just get to stand up there and speak my truth, I guess.
I think personally at a really weird start because I started advocating for Michaela when she was diagnosed and I didn't have arthritis. So I started there, and then after I kind of bit the bullet, it's like, yeah, I have arthritis. I should start telling people. I guess I just didn't stop telling people, and that's kind of spiraled into a lot of like online social media advocacy, which I understand can be performative at times. But I've been working to kind of like transfer that into real world applications. So I've actually got to talk on a panel at my school's like largest student run international development conference in like North America. And we talked about like the intersectionality of like equity and then like performing arts. So I got to talk on that and be part of a documentary, which is pretty cool.
That's a great way to advocate for others too. And a lot of people don't realize that like taking those small steps and even doing things at your school, you can still say what you have to say. And it's great that you're sort of doing that. I guess we kind of wanted to now talk about Make-A-Wish. I've done some research on all of my, all of the guests that come on, you know, me and my internet stalking skills. I've watched videos.
Very good at it. Very good at it.
Okay, that's another story. I watched the video of like Carly figure out how to write questions, all that fun stuff. Okay. So I guess we can start off by maybe you guys can tell us like what is Make-A-Wish and maybe provide us with some background on what it is exactly and how you actually got involved with it.
So I stole all of this off the website, give credit where it's due. So Make-A-Wish creates life-changing wishes for children with critical illnesses, and they believe it's a key part of a child's treatment journey. So these wishes, they actually have been shown to make an actual difference in recipients' lives, from like physical to emotional benefits. And a really, really common misconception is that it's only for terminally ill kids, which caused a lot of confusion when me and Michaela got referred to it. So it is open for critically ill kids, and they really encourage anyone with a critical illness to apply.
There was a lot of confusion like when we went public with it though. Like people were like, someone made a TikTok about Carly's Make-A-Wish and all the comments were like, rest in peace, she will be missed. And I'm like, she's still with us. She's still here.
Also, like, people here in Ottawa found it. Like someone was like sharing also, I didn't know how big this story would get. I was just like, I'll do one thing for publicity to boost lifespan and Make-A-Wish, and then I'll disappear again. It went everywhere. People were like sharing it to group chats I was in Ottawa. And I had to go through the really weird conversation of being like, no, I'm not dying. Thank you for asking.
I actually know a couple, I don't know if it's a couple of the girls, but like my boyfriend's cousin is on the club that sponsored you guys, I guess.
Is it called the Dream Team?
Yeah. So that's how I saw you guys, because like we follow each other on Instagram, and I was like, hold on, go back. I know these two people. And that's how I found out. I was like, wow, like I had no idea that it was even open to critically ill kids.
Right? Yeah,
We didn't either.
She pulled down the pamphlet, and we just looked at each other like, but also I feel like the misconception can be so negative because a lot of critically ill children are missing out on Make-A-Wishes that they're completely eligible for. So we're Make-A-Wish ambassadors now. So I'm going to hopefully break that stigma and get more kids' wishes.
You guys sort of get involved with it or know about it per se?
With Make-A-Wish or like the ambassador part of it?
I guess we could start with Make-A-Wish first and then ambassador after.
I remember we were having like the worst appointment. Michaela was like, I'm pretty sure like face down on the exam table. And she was just like looking at me like this. And basically our rheumatologist was like, Michaela, you gotta quit your job, because she was like lifting giant heavy bags of dog food. Not an invalid critique. And it was just going so bad. So then she's like, I know what to do. She like grabs the pamphlet, she brings it down. It's the Make-A-Wish pamphlet. And I've never been more confused in my life. But after that, we found like, hey, we're eligible. we got granted a wish. It was pretty sick.
Whole the wish process was super cool too, because you get a coordinator at Make-A-Wish. You actually have two, I think, and you just pick a couple categories. You just brainstorm a bunch of ideas, like a bunch of wishes. Then you choose one and you send it to Make-A-Wish, and then sometimes if they can make your wish better, if it's something that'll be better for you, they will. We're all gung-ho for it. We were going to do a little cruise around, what was it? It was Italy, Greece, and Croatia. We were going to go on a cruise.
So how did you guys become ambassadors?
I don't know how they usually do it, but after my wish, I just did a lot of publicity for them. And then they just reached out like, hey, you want to keep doing this? So yeah, we're waiting to see what happens. But they're currently on their campaign, Don't Wait for Hope Created, which is really cute and cool and fun.
So right now they're just kind of using me and Carly's wishes as like promo on social media to kind of raise more awareness, get more kids' wishes.
Another campaign they have is Wishes Are Waiting. And, me and Michaela, we were critically ill, but a lot of kids who have had their wishes canceled because of COVID, they're terminally ill. They might not be able to wait throughout the pandemic. So they do have alternative wishes. But yeah, so that's one of the campaigns they're running right now.
So what were your wishes? Because I know we kind of jumped, but what was, I guess, what was the wish? Yeah.
We had a joint wish, like we chose together. We wanted to go on, some kind of international adventure, and we both love like ancient history and ancient civilizations, architecture, all that fun stuff. So we're like, yeah, let's go to like the oldest place on earth, like Greece, Italy. We'll have a great time. So that was our little joint wish idea. And then with the pandemic, they offered us, we can either wait or we can have an alternate wish. So we both went with the alternate wish.
What was your alternate wish?
My alternate wish was for a baritone saxophone. I've been playing the baritone saxophone since grade 6, but I never thought I'd have my own.
So good at it. Like
Oh, thank you.
She's musically gifted, okay? She talent.
Kind of you. Yeah, anyways, I play the bari sax. It's just like, it's like a very large saxophone. It's very bassy. It is massive, but I love it. And I never thought I'd have my own. So I'm just like constant disbelief, like always stoked. She's right here. Always keep her with me. So that was my alternate wish.
Yeah, and then for me, so basically, I had my mentor pass a few months before I was granted like an alternate wish. So I pretty much made a donation in her name to her favorite charity. So
let's plug the charity. It's Lifespin. They help low-income families. They have they give out like furniture, food, toys at Christmas. That's their big thing. That's what Carly's wish went to, is they bought toys for families of low-income children.
Super cool. They're very anti-poverty, and our hometown London has a really big like homelessness problem, not a lot of affordable housing. So they do a lot of like grassroots work in the community with like food hampers, a lot of like legal assistance, stuff like that. So it's pretty cool.
We'll put their website in our bios or description. So if anyone wants to check it out, they can. So last but not least, what advice would you give to youth that are either planning on moving out that have a chronic disease, or just going to university or college with a chronic disease?
I will say my advice is to plan for everything, especially like emergency medical events and flare-ups. It depends if you're living at home or if you're moving out. For me, I'm 8 hours away from my family. So if I flare up, it's on me to figure it out. So also, you're going to have to take control of your entire medical journey. So be prepared. I have like a little folder with all my paperwork. It's very impressive. My doctors love it. And also just find your support system, because it's such a social transition, but there's going to be people around you that are willing to support.
Yeah, my biggest advice for people, going out into the world as an adult for the first time with a chronic illness is really just go for what you want in life. Like, be who you are and do what you want. And as much as you can, don't let your illness hold you back, because you can do whatever you want. And also learn how to file your medical paperwork. Like, make a good system. Make sure you refill your prescriptions on time, because it's harder than you think.
We don't really understand how hard it is to actually be an adult, and then you have to run.
I have to figure out what to make for dinner every night. Arthritis aside, that's the hardest part.
Yeah, I know. I feel like we all have things at our plate and coming to us, and then when you leave, it's like now you're on your own and you have a chronic disease to figure out as well. So it just makes it 10 times harder. But anyways, thank you both for coming on today. We had a really cool discussion. I think we don't get to see often twins that have the condition itself. And so just for everyone that's watching, like, comment, subscribe, follow their social medias, read about them, read about Carly and Make-A-Wish on whatever website it is, we'll put in the description. But yeah, also check out I Can Cope. It's a new app that we mentioned before, and it's great for teens and youth that really want to know how to manage their pain and self-management skills in terms of having arthritis. So yeah, we will see everyone next week on Take a Pain Check. Bye.
The information that we are sharing today is our own personal experiences and does not constitute as medical advice. Please check with your doctor for medical advice that is suited to you and your condition. Thank you.